We're following breaking news out of Westlake.
Let's get straight to Rich Prickett. He's overhead in Sky 5. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Glenn and Lou. Within the last 30 minutes, there was a massive federal deployment around MacArthur Park. Homeland Security as well as the military coming out with their Humvees and blocking off some of the streets. What you're seeing right now is the Homeland Security team that is leaving the MacArthur Park area. They're actually heading up Rampart towards the 101 freeway and could be headed towards the federal prison in downtown. We're seeing multiple white vans here that could be full of people that they have taken into custody or are detaining at this time. It's not clear exactly if they targeted a specific business or if they rounded up some people that were in the area of MacArthur Park. But what we're seeing right now is the Homeland Security is now leaving the area, heading towards the freeway, and there was a large amount of people that came out from the community and were protesting ICE and Homeland Security around MacArthur Park. They have now dispersed. So again, multiple vans here leaving the MacArthur Park, possibly with multiple people that the Homeland Security and ICE have detained. Over downtown, I'm Rich Prickett. I'll send it back to you.
Rich, what do you count? Two white vans?
Let's see. We got one, two. I saw at least three earlier. Right now, we're seeing two. But I did see, I saw three at least earlier. We'll pan up the street here. Here's another one. There's another one. So there's at least four vans that are leaving the area with the Homeland
Rich,
Security.
you were saying it was around MacArthur Park, but you're not sure if in fact people are in these vans, if they were rounded up from the park or a business around the park.
Correct. Yeah. As we arrived on scene, we saw that tactical vehicle that was leaving the area as well as the vans here, and they are making their way up towards the 101 freeway, but it's not clear at this point how many people may have been rounded up, if at all.
A lot of times when we've seen this happen, has been resistance. Did you see any of that going on when they were being taken into custody?
We did not. There were protesters around MacArthur Park when the agents made their presence known and was coming down the street. We saw footage from people that were on the ground showing a fairly large response from federal agents making their way into the area. Like I said, there was multiple military vehicles, Humvee-style vehicles that were making their way towards the park, as well as some of these Bearcats that we see from the Homeland Security. There was also a Homeland Security helicopter that was orbiting the area as well. But as of this point, they have basically dispersed from the area, and crowd control from the LAPD was able to was dealing with the crowds to make sure that everything stayed safe in the area. But they have now reported the protesters are starting to disperse.
Well, of course, we've been seeing these types of roundups by immigration agents arresting thousands of people here in the Los Angeles area. They started around June 6th, which is 1 month ago yesterday. And this is just something that we're seeing even on July 4th, which is a holiday, a federal holiday and a celebration of America. Even in West Hollywood, some employees of a car wash were rounded up on that day. Just something that we're seeing. We have no idea where these vans are headed. We just had heard that there possibly was a situation at MacArthur Park with the Homeland Security following these white vans, 2 to 3 white vans.
Rich, does it look like they're heading toward maybe the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown?
It does. They are making their way south on the 101 freeway towards downtown. So we'll find out here within the next 5 to 10 minutes or so if they will pull into the Metropolitan Detention Center on Alvarado or Alameda.
And then I'm not sure if you're clear on this, but once they get to the detention center, obviously they'll be put through a process. But then do they actually stay at that detention center, or are they typically moved? Because we have heard that, you know, sometimes these detainees are sent to Florida, some are sent to different areas. And I know we reported last week that Trump has opened a huge center. Was it in Florida?
Yeah,
that he opened as well.
Yeah, as far as where they will move these people, I'm not entirely sure how long they will keep them in downtown. But again, we're still awaiting to hear if there are people on these vans that are making their way towards downtown. But there was a pretty large response within the last 30 to 40 minutes or so as they deployed into the MacArthur Park area. And then we found these vans several blocks from MacArthur Park. So we're still waiting more information as to whether they target a specific business or not, and whether and how many people may have been taken from the Homeland Security.
Okay, if you're just joining us, what you're looking at is the 101 freeway. You see the one white van. I think we counted 4, maybe 5. This is after some activity in MacArthur Park. Federal agents from ICE showing up and detaining several people, a number of people, loading them up into the white vans, and we believe they are probably headed to the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles. We'll just have to wait and see where these vans end up going, but we suspect that is probably, where they're heading, and you got to suspect maybe 8, 9, maybe 10 people in each of those vans may have been picked up. So there's a possibility they may have rounded up probably up to 40 people here in this immigration activity in MacArthur Park.
And again, this is something that we have been seeing since the beginning of June, and the administration says it is not ending anytime soon, that ICE will be in town and conducting these raids for a minimum of 60 days. And so right now we're at 30 days. So this is something that we're seeing on the regular. And as Glenn mentioned, sometimes there is some resistance. There were a few people we're hearing that did protest, but that has dispersed in that area since then.
Rich, getting a better idea where they might be heading here?
Yeah, we just passed Alameda, so we are passing the detention center, and they did not make an effort to make their way off the freeway. So at this point, they're still continuing on the 101 freeway, now passing the downtown area, and it's not entirely clear where they might be heading. We're seeing 2 vans here in the shot. There were at least 2 other vans that are further back out of frame. Kind of lost sight of them for the moment, but for right now, we're just seeing the 2 vans still continuing on the 101 freeway and making their way past downtown. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if we can determine where they are headed. But for right now, they have passed the downtown area.
And it looks like they're now getting on the 10 freeway eastbound.
It looks like they are making their way towards the 5 freeway here. So they have transitioned from the 101 onto the 10 freeway, still eastbound, and we'll see if they make their way onto the 5 or if they're just going to continue on the 10.
I believe there is a detention center in Murrieta as well.
Yeah, I believe so.
So that's probably where they're headed, and that is a long drive.
Yeah, that'll actually take them, it'll take them a couple of hours to get out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it looks like Murrieta, Linwood, and downtown are some of the top ones, but just looking at what freeways they're taking and the fact that they didn't stop in downtown, we don't want to guess, but if they are headed to a detention center, it's likely Murrieta.
All right, we will continue to follow this situation. Again, some ICE activity near MacArthur Park. You see the headline there. Several people taken into custody, loaded up into at least 4 vans. We're guessing it could be up to maybe 40 people. We'll just have to wait and see. And we will continue to follow this situation. And when things change, we'll let you know.